There we go. Okay. Hello, everyone. We are live for another episode of the Marketers Roundtable. We are interviewing Kayleen today. So Daniel Jones, which he's like my business partner now, one of my students, he made the connection, and I'm excited to talk to Kayleen because she is a top-rated freelancer on Upwork. And you guys know I'm big on Facebook for building your brand and getting high-paying clients, but Upwork, people are actively searching for services, right? So these are kind of like the best clients, the people who you don't have to sell on marketing or
Right.
sell on your service. They're already pretty much ready to buy, and they're just kind of looking for like, do you have results, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just super excited to learn more about how we can get more clients on Upwork. More about Kayleen. She's consistently done or earned $4K a month from just Upwork leads, and she only started about a year ago and has been using the platform for less than a year. She's helped whatever freelancers secure a spot with Huggies, and that's just from her free group. And we're going to be talking about how to get your first gig on Upwork using keywords, how to land higher paying clients, how to optimize your profile, et cetera, et cetera. So, Kayleen, I know I just pretty much introduced you, but how would you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much, Desmond. I appreciate you inviting me on, by the way. I got into email copywriting about a year and a half ago, but I didn't really start applying for gigs. I didn't really start out actively going out, reaching out to clients. I was just kind of in my own cave practicing copywriting for a couple months. And then I finally got the kick in the butt. COVID happened and I needed to make money online. So I figured the best place to start would be with a platform that's already actively seeking out freelancers to hire, as opposed to trying to convince a random stranger why I'd be so great for them to invest their money in. So that's what attracted me to Upwork, even though I've heard so many horrible things about Upwork, like you get crappy paying clients and it's super competitive, stuff like that. I heard it all, but I was still like, you know what? Any money is good money. So at that time, I was really just like, I just need a way into marketing, into this new world. And it was kind of crazy because within my first 30 to 60 days of applying for gigs every day on Upwork, I landed my first client for $1,400. And that was a huge win for me because I had never worked for a client really before that. I had done a little bit of freelance free work in exchange for testimonials and stuff for a couple of friends of mine. I'm also a musician too, so I was helping a couple of my music friends with their brands write some email copy. But that was my first real established e-commerce brand that I was working for. So I really went in not knowing how to do anything. And it was cool that somebody was willing to pay me $1,400 to do something I was just learning how to do. So once I started doing that, I kind of turned to my mentor, Sean Anthony, and I was like, should I try cold email? Should I try these other outreach methods? And he's like, if you're getting leads from Upwork, just keep doing the same thing. And that's what I've been doing ever since. It's just been consistently working for me.
So with Upwork, I don't know why I associate Upwork with Fiverr, but how does Upwork work? Like if you charge $1,400, I thought it was like a per hour thing, or generally I thought people go to Upwork for cheap services, but just explain how you got a $1,500 client.
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. So the difference between, at least from my understanding of Fiverr, because I don't know too much about Fiverr, but with Upwork, they have hourly gigs, but they also have fixed rate gigs. But when I was applying for gigs, I was kind of opening up my job pool too, and this is kind of a secret you guys can use too. Not just focusing on the gigs that were posted about fixed rates, where they had a set budget, but hourly gigs too, that just seemed to be an ideal fit for me and what I was looking for in a client. So I was applying to hourly gigs, fixed rate gigs, and this happened to actually be an hourly gig. But then when we were on the call and it came time for your investment will be this amount of dollars. It ended up turning that hourly gig into a retainer. So
Mm,
that's how I kind of did it. And that's how you can kind of spin the conversation too, is a lot of times freelancers think that clients know like how much they want to spend when they're posting gigs on Upwork, but they really don't. They don't know how it works. They're learning like you are too. So
mhm,
apply for hourly gigs, applied for fixed rate gigs, as long as the client's meeting your criteria.
mhm, mhm. So now let's talk about how some person can get their first gig on Upwork. Like
Yeah,
let's
sure.
break it down step by step.
Yeah, sure. So if you're brand new starting out, kind of like me, you don't have like any case studies, you just maybe even created your Upwork profile for the
Mhm,
first time, I would definitely start by applying to just like one gig every day that's a really good fit for you.
mhm,
And the best way to know what a really good fit for you is by asking yourself what you're looking for in an ideal client, you
mhm,
know, not even just money wise too, but like personality type, because you want to make sure that, you know, the
mhm,
energy vibes too,
mhm,
because especially if you're a copywriter too and you're writing for a personal brand or you're writing for an e-commerce brand, making sure that you jive with the client is
mhm,
really, really important. And that'll also help you get that consistent income coming back in time and
mhm,
time again too. So definitely start by just applying to at least one to three gigs every day
mhm,
consistently without fail. Put it in your calendar, put it in your book, whatever you use to lay out your tasks every day,
mhm,
and just keep that consistency. And it's going to be rough for a while,
mhm,
but Upwork is kind of like any other social media platform, right? Where you have to work with the algorithm. You have to let it get to know you too, so that over time it starts feeding you gigs that are a better match for you too. They're trying to learn what you're interested in, what you're looking at too, because at
mhm,
the end of the day, they want to make money too. So they're trying to work with you as much as you're trying to work for them. So that's where I would definitely start.
mhm, mhm. Okay. So so you got them from uh you got the so they how does Upwork work? Like how did you get them on a phone? Because on Fiverr like you kind of pay first and then the
Right,
work is
right.
delivered. So how does that work?
Right. So pretty much how it works is you apply for a gig, the
Mm,
client goes through, and this is cool too because I just recently became like an Upwork client where I
mm,
went through the hiring process, so I got to see how it actually works from that end. Um, but how it works is you apply for a gig. If the client chooses to invite you to an interview based on your
mm,
proposal that you for the gig that you applied to, they'll message you back through Upwork Messenger, so it's all within the platform. And then from there, you can just schedule a time when you want to hop on a call. Generally, Upwork prefers to keep everything in
mm,
Upwork, but nobody needs to pay anything before hopping on that call. So that's where it is different from Fiverr. And now Upwork too has a Zoom integration, so you can hop on a Zoom call directly in Upwork. Or if you don't want to hop on Zoom, you can also dial in like an audio phone call too. So it's pretty cool.
mm, mm. Nice, nice. So, some people, if they're just starting out, like you said, you struggle to, get your first, get out your own way and just, put yourself
Right.
out there and get your first client. So, when it came to developing your craft, how did you learn to be a copywriter so you can actually feel confident in getting someone to pay you for your work?
Yeah, I think after a while, you just kind of get tired of just hand copying other people's
Mm,
emails or
mm,
sales pages or writing emails for pretend clients that you wish you had.
mm,
And there just needs to be a point in your mind where you have to go for it.
mm,
And I think Upwork is the best way to do it because again, you don't have to go through that awkward process of cold emailing a random person and trying
mm,
to convince them why they need your service and
mm,
why you're the best person for it. With
mm,
Upwork, it's more like they already know that they need your service,
mm,
but you just need to convince them why you're the best fit for them at this time. So I think that answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
it did. So
Cool.
now, I want to talk a little bit more about copywriting because it's important for everyone
Yeah.
in the online space to understand copywriting.
Yeah.
I always say it's like one of the top three high income skills you need to know if you want to
Yeah.
make money online. So with copywriting, what is like your process for writing copy for someone else? Because I've wrote copy for someone else. Like, all right, so with our agency, right?
Yeah.
We used to do the content for them, but we realized like it didn't work. Like it just
Yeah.
it didn't work because
Yeah.
I don't number one, I don't know your stories,
Yeah.
and I can I know how I speak, but like I may not speak like you through your copy. So like what is
Right.
your process when it comes to writing copy for your clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I always flat out from the moment they hit the hire button on
Mm,
Upwork and they invest money in me. I'm always very upfront and say, hey, before we get started, before I can write any type of copy for you, you
mm,
need to fill out this questionnaire. And it's
mm,
just like a quick Google Doc of like 15 to 20 questions, just for me to get a better sense of not only where they're at, what they're looking for, but also like who their competitors are, who
mm,
they're looking at for inspiration, just so I can get like a better sense. And also, too, what's really important, how the founder, how the co-founder, or whoever it is, right, who you're writing for, how they communicate their messaging
mm,
to their audience is really important too. So I always ask also, can you send me any existing copy assets too
mm,
that have worked really well for you in the past? Any past email campaigns, because I'm an email copywriter,
mm,
any past email campaigns that have performed really well for you that I could take a look at? And
mm,
then kind of building it off there. I also always block off at least like 5 to 7 days just for pure research. And again,
mm,
I always tell them up front, this is how much time it's going to take for
mm,
me to turn around everything to you, including like final revisions, delivery,
mm,
everything. But I do need that first week for research. So this is why it's going to take me this amount of time to turn around for you.
mm,
And usually when you lay it out like that, they
mm,
have a pretty good understanding. Okay, like
mm,
this person knows what they're talking about.
mm,
And I
mm.
really do like to go deep inside my client's mind too, because I want to make this process as seamless as possible for them.
Mm-hmm. And do you because right now we're talking a little bit about the your sales process.
Right.
What you just kind of highlighted was what I always do when I sell a marketing package. I always
Right.
like to set expectations. I let them know like 2-3 weeks build out, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So now while we're on the topic of sales,
Yeah.
do you offer any sort of guarantees?
I do. I do. And I actually use this, and this is one of the things I teach in my Upwork program too,
Mm,
is always including some kind of risk-free guarantee. It doesn't have to be a money back guarantee. In fact, I would
mm,
probably dissuade you from doing
mhm,
that if you're
mhm,
just
mhm.
starting out, because you can't be sure you can deliver, and
Mhm,
it's not always your fault either. Sometimes it's just the client might not be a right fit, and maybe you
mhm,
just missed some of those signs along the way. But some sort of risk free guarantee. And the way I usually position this is like, I'll help you get X results, or I'll keep going until I can. And kind
mhm,
of leaving it a little open ended there. But a lot of times that's one of the big selling points for me with a
mhm,
client, especially when they're still trying to figure out, like, is she the right person to go with?
mhm,
Having that risk free guarantee is really a good selling point to have, especially if you are just starting out and you don't have a lot of case studies to lean on.
mhm. But what exactly is the risk free guarantee?
So it's something like, I'll help you get X results in X amount of days, right? Like increase your sales in 30
Mhm,
days or 60 days, 30 to 60 days, or I'll keep going until I do. It's just very simple. And
mhm,
it's kind
mhm,
of like a little vague, but it's also kind of open ended too. And
mhm,
it just gives them that extra reassurance that
mhm,
you're willing to continue this relationship and give everything you got to help them get this result.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, and I did that too. Because we started our marketing company what in like 2020, and
Yeah.
I knew what I was doing, but it was like
Yeah.
I've definitely learned a lot. There were definitely different ways I
Yeah.
would have gone about
Yeah.
launching campaigns for clients to get
Yeah.
results. So I definitely I'm big on like your first few clients. You should definitely like do anything, like
Yep.
work with them for a whole year if
Yes.
you have to, just to get the
Yeah.
results.
Yeah.
Just because I mean I'm just big on, I would feel bad if you pay me this money, I didn't get you results.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah, totally. And I honestly, I recently had an experience too. Like even now, I still get experiences where,
mhm,
sometimes you work with a client and it ends up not being a right fit.
mhm,
And
mhm,
we had this conversation. Thankfully I'm in a position where I can give people back their money and say,
mhm,
hey, like
mhm,
this didn't work
mhm,
out. I'm more than happy to give you your money back because the relationship is more important to me than the
mhm,
money.
mhm,
And that's the reason why clients keep coming back.
mhm,
Why I've been top rated for the last couple of months too is
mhm,
because I have that transparency with my clients. I want to make
mhm,
sure that I can deliver and that
mhm,
their investment is being used wisely.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, and I wanted to ask about the guarantee thing because like right now, I'm not sure how big how active you are on Facebook, but
Mhm.
or like you've heard of Alex Ramosi?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah, and his big thing, like his landing page, if you ever came across it, it was like I don't know, 75 grand guaranteed or something in 90 days, so something along those lines. I can't remember.
Yeah,
And it seems like everyone is now copying that,
yeah,
and I'm like that I don't really I don't lead with that. That's kind of
yeah,
just something I
yep,
internally do, like from like
yep.
if because we don't ever guarantee any sort of money for our clients. So after
Right,
90 days or something, if we don't get the results,
right,
then we just keep on working. But I don't lead with that. I don't tell people that.
right, right.
I think it's kind of crazy that like I feel like guarantees for the most part are for people who aren't really like committed.
Yeah,
Um
yeah, totally. I
yeah.
totally agree with that too. And a lot of times, like, I mean, for Alex Hormozy, I'm sure that's accurate, like
Mm-mm.
75
Right,
grand,
right, right.
90 days, but not for most people. So
Exactly.
don't be promising things you don't know you can deliver
Mm,
on.
exactly.
A lot of times I use percentages too because
Mm, mm,
10 to 15%
mm,
more, it can still be a powerful sell too,
mm.
as opposed to saying like 50K or
Right.
100K, unless you really know and you're very dialed in on who you're targeting too.
Mm,
That's
mm,
important.
mm. So now, what sort of clients do you tend to attract? Because like on Facebook,
Mhm,
right? I always
mhm,
tell people if you want to get like if you want to attract those clients who are willing and able to pay you like high ticket prices,
right.
generally you want to buy your way in, so that might be
Mm,
buying some coaching program, joining some mastermind.
mhm,
Now
yeah,
you know all these people have money,
yeah,
so
yeah, sure.
mhm.
Yeah.
So at Upwork, like what sort of clientele does Upwork attract? Because Fiverr, I feel like it's probably like people looking for like I mean it's Fiverr, it's literally like 5, 10,
Yeah.
25K. So like
Yeah.
Upwork, what sort of people like are do you come across there?
It definitely depends on how, again, you use your keywords
Mm,
to find those clients too. But again, like going back to what I was saying earlier, just really like knowing the type of
mm,
clients you want to work with. I went through a process for a while. I At first I wanted to work with other musicians
mm,
because I'm also a music artist and I'm building my own music brand. So I thought it'd be cool to take what I'm learning about email copywriting
mm,
and help them out. But one, there weren't a lot of musicians looking for help on
mm,
Upwork.
mhm,
So a lot of that too, if you aren't sure about what clients you want to work with, my biggest recommendation to you would be to look what kind of gigs for the service you offer
mm,
are being posted and by who. So if you're seeing like a lot of B2B businesses posting gigs on Upwork,
mhm,
um, maybe give it a try and you can always change down the line. But I find that even though I'm more focused on helping like e-commerce brands with email marketing, I also attract a lot of coaches and consultants too, info product companies as well. So just because you might be targeting one type of industry doesn't mean
mm,
that other people won't like your style and won't invite you to apply for their gigs anyways, where it might not, maybe it'll show up in your feed when you're applying
mm,
for gigs too.
mhm, mhm. Okay. Oh, okay. I for some reason I wasn't really I was thinking about it weird, but
Yeah.
how Upwork works is other people put gigs and then you apply for the gigs, or is it the other
Yes.
way? Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
okay,
So it's
oh,
not like
okay,
Fiverr. Yeah. So Fiverr, you put up your project, but now actually, Upwork does have a feature like
okay,
Fiverr where you can post projects
mm,
and clients can just hire you and pay for the project. I
right,
don't really like. I don't know. I've tried it. It doesn't
mm,
really. It hasn't really done much for me. So
mm,
I'd rather get to know the client first before deciding whether or not I want to work with them. But Upwork works where the client posts a gig like a job board feed, right?
mm,
You go through your Upwork feed, you apply for different gigs, you get a set of connects every month
mm,
that you use kind of like coins to bid for different gigs. And you get 10 new free ones every month that
mm.
Upwork gives you. So that's how you apply for gigs.
Okay. Okay. Now, one last thing I want to talk about and some closing questions, but
Yeah.
how should people optimize their profile
Yeah.
for success?
Yeah. So I always kind of like to think of it at like think of your Upwork profile almost like how you would position yourself on any other social media platform where you're trying to build like a reputation, build an audience. Your LinkedIn profile too. How do you have that optimized?
Mhm,
So starting with too, like your headline,
mhm,
right? What words can you use to describe, the pains and the problems and the solutions of the clients, the target audience you're trying to market your services to?
mhm,
How can you explain that in one simple phrase that kind of stands out? Because a
mhm,
lot of times you'll scroll through different freelancer profiles and it's just very vague descriptions of what they do.
mhm,
So making sure that your headline is eye catching, that
mhm.
it grabs people's attention, because you're one of, I think, over 4 million
Yeah, yeah.
users. It's crazy. So you want to make sure that your profile is standing out, especially to when you're just starting out. So that's why I'm so like focused on try to pick an industry, even if
Mhm,
you change down the line, just to give yourself a little bit of leverage and
mhm,
kind of stand out a little bit more. So that would be the first thing with optimizing your profile. Second thing would be your bio.
mhm,
One thing that I always hear from clients is the reason why they reached out to me is because of my bio, because
mhm,
it
mhm,
just catches their attention. It's interesting and it shows off my copywriting
mhm,
skills too. So this
mhm.
is especially important if you're a copywriter.
Right.
Use this opportunity to show off your copywriting skills, right?
Mhm,
You can think of it almost as like a mini sales page.
mhm,
It doesn't have to be crazy with crazy case studies or testimonials, but you want to make sure that you're communicating, that you understand what your client is looking for,
okay,
what problems that they're facing in their business and what they're looking to change to.
mhm,
So that's where I would next really focus. And those are probably the two most important things about your profile. Your portfolio is important too, but I was getting away with like two portfolio
mhm,
pieces for a long time and they weren't that great.
mhm.
Um, and then testimonials, if you have any, the more the merrier, but again, it's not do or die, especially if you're
Mhm,
just starting out. So if you are just starting out, really focusing on your messaging, focusing on who your dream client is, create that dream client avatar, and then cater your bio to speak to them instead of writing like a third grade book report about
mhm,
yourself.
mhm, 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 mhm. Yeah, yeah. Marketing 101. That's what a lot of my posts have been about recently.
Yeah.
Like, people get caught up in all the little tactics and hacks and
Yep.
the magic word or the magic word you could use to get a windfall of
Yeah.
clients and just a bunch of stupid stuff. But it's like, look, just know who your ideal client is. Number
Yeah.
one, like, that's the
Yep.
first step.
Yep.
Then second, your messaging once you want to speak to them, like, I don't know if you're trying to get a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. I don't
Right.
think I don't think he's really concerned about time freedom and location freedom.
Right. Right.
Like, so
Right.
so so messaging messaging 101 is just like really speak to that person. So yeah, guys, get back to the basics. It doesn't really matter what platform, whether it's Facebook,
Right.
Upwork, like these basics, stay true. So, how can people begin to start learning from you?
Yeah.
Any free resources, group, ebook, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, sure. So I do have a proposal template that I'd be happy to share with you guys
Mhm,
today. I can pop that, I guess, in the chat over here.
mhm,
Um, but I also have a free Facebook group too. It's called First Time Freelancers, or Land Your First Gig on Upwork. You can
mhm,
just search that and just let me know that you showed up to this call today,
mhm.
and I'd be more than happy to let you in. And I also, anybody who does join the Facebook group also gets this proposal template as well. So in case you missed it, you can also get it there as well.
Awesome, awesome. And I'll make sure I have all those links below for you guys. This has been another episode of the Marketers Roundtable. Thank you so much, Kayleen.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, and
Yeah.
I know the audience enjoyed it as much as I do. So, with that being said, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I will
Yeah.
see you guys later.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Of course, of course.